Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco, dish out on the movies. And today, we're at beginning of a new year.
That means ranking, Safi, your favorite thing.
My least favorite thing, but I've kind of tried to keep it up.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Not with the old movies.
Well, whatever. Somehow, I've managed to keep up on some of it. So the first thing that we're going to do is what we're going to do tonight, and that is
TV
series.
And the one thing that I'll say is that there are a couple of series that won't be on here, such as Cobra Kai Season 6 and Hell's Kitchen Season 23, and that is because those shows are not done yet. Those shows are still going. So as soon as they're completely done, they will count in their entirety. So Hell's Kitchen and Cobra Kai, they will be for 2025 TV shows. And honestly, Safi, let's just talk about overall TV shows. They're really piss poor right now. I mean, you have a couple shows that are really good, but the way that TV shows are nowadays, it's all about quantity over quality. And even though they have this thing now where it's like, we don't overstay our welcome by having more than 5 episodes a season. But the thing is that like they have like 1,000 TV shows that come out throughout the year. And so it's basically the equivalent of like back in the day when they had like a couple of shows with 20 plus episodes each. It's just that now there's a lot of different ones that all pretty much suck. Right, Safi? Like, it's really terrible now what they've done with TV.
Well, we didn't do all of the series that we could have done. We don't have the time.
No.
And we're selective about what we wanted. What we're interested in. Horror, cooking, even the Penguin and Fallout. Those shows are... One's based on a video game, and the other one is a very famous DC character that's been around and been done by many different people. So these are select, and Chucky, of course. These are select TV series.
Chucky's gone now.
Yeah, Chucky has been, in case you don't know it, it's been canceled.
Oh yeah, what happened with Dark Wind?
Yeah, I've been wondering about that too, because usually they show something over the summer.
They're gonna have 8 episodes again. They extended it.
Extended what?
They extended Dark Winds. The next season's gonna have 8 episodes instead of 6. Oh well.
Well, that might be helpful.
Maybe they're finally learning. I don't see like anything about the new season. I do see some casting on IMDb, but I don't see anything about... So actually, I'll be looking forward to that, except I hope that bitch isn't on that season. You know, this one? This random biatch that they put in season 2, and she was just a complete wasted character, because...
She was in several of the books.
She was supposed to be a love interest, but since it's 2023... They made it about her being a strong woman, and, it just sucked. And it's like, I'm sick and tired. And I've said this, too, in another video. I'm sick and tired of strong female characters. I'm sick and tired of it. Because if they make them strong, then they have no character, and they have no flaws, and they don't have anything about them that you can like. I'm sick and tired
of... the woman on Fargo?
She's a different character, though, Safi. And even her, she had some problems. Remember... when she sacrificed that guy with the intestinal cancer, and she let him get kidnapped and killed, like, that was terrible. And so I'm saying it's like, I'm sick and tired of strong female characters. I'm sick and tired of independent female characters. Let's go back to the 50s and 60s, because female characters at least were likable back then. They at least were a little bit likable. They had a little bit of charisma, a little bit of stuff to like. Nowadays, you don't like them at all. Name a single female character that you could like.
Marco. I liked her.
I told you what she did, Safi.
Well, I don't care. It was
That's
a
bad.
Show, and we'll go get on with that.
Okay.
Let me just start.
Well, it has to. we have to give context, Safi, of like what we think overall about the direction of television. I think that TV sucks now. I want them to go back to 20 plus episodes a season for 10 seasons with actors.
I think they'd have to work up to it because they're so used to cutting everything short.
Yeah.
That I think they'd have to experiment and practice.
They're so used to being lazy asses nowadays with TV shows. Like, TV shows nowadays are just basically glorified movies. They're basically like extended movies. They're like mini-series, and I just despise them.
Okay, well, so we, unless Marco saw more than I did, I have 8.
I did.
Okay, well, I have 8, and that was good enough for me.
I saw one more than you.
Okay.
It's the one that you were supposed to watch, but you bitched out of it. And you promised you'd watch it, and then you bitched out of your promise, too.
I'd love to hear what that would be.
Oh, you'll find out pretty soon.
Okay, well, we're going to start from the bottom and go all the way to the top.
Number 9, and Safi's number 8, hopefully,
Right.
is American Horror Story Delicate.
Yeah.
Now, this season started off with potential. You know, I did not like the movie Rosemary's Baby. I don't like the guy who made it either at all, for obvious reasons. But this new show, it was based on this like modern book. It's the only American Horror Story season that was based off of something else.
And I read quite a bit of the book, and I didn't care for it either.
Yeah, Safi thought it was boring.
It was boring.
Yeah.
And so, unless you changed up the TV show, which they did do it, but it did not turn out.
It was supposed to be some sort of like a feminist take on Rosemary's Baby or something, even though Rosemary's Baby is already a feminist story. You don't need to add anything else. I mean, that movie's all about like a woman being forced to give birth to a devil baby while every single guy and woman in the world is against her, basically, like, and they're all in a cult together. Like, that movie was feminist enough. You didn't make it. You didn't need to make it more feminist. And how ironic that you're trying to make this feminist show when you have Kim Kardashian in it, who's one of the most evil, anti-feminist women on the planet. Cara Delevingne, she can't act at all. She's one of the most embarrassing celebrities on the planet. I'd never cast her in one of my movies. That's for damn sure. She's bizarre. This show has some of the worst sex scenes I've ever seen on a TV show. And it's really bad because, you know, American Horror Story, they didn't used to use sex police on set, but now they do, and you can tell. Their sex scenes look like garbage. You can't even tell that they had sex because they used those people on set, of course. And it's awful. It's fucking garbage. It didn't get better, it got worse. Just like all of the other American... Just like all of the other American Horror Story seasons, except for one, which was 1984, which we thought was the best one. Safi, what else do you have to say about it?
Kim Kardashian just played herself in the show.
Yeah.
And when she acted, or whatever you want to call it, I could see her, that was like her real life, like what she would sound like, and so it wasn't a surprise or something that she had to stretch herself as an actress to do. She just portrayed herself. And the only good thing about, and I thought, I'll read the book, because there's always this big thing, and I mentioned it too, about the book is always better than the movie. Or the show.
That's not always true.
A lot of the time. It's the only other time I could think of is that movie called The Firm with Tom Cruise.
Okay, I'm gonna prove you wrong right now. All the Hammer Dracula movies are better than Bram Stoker's Dracula's book.
Oh.
Boom.
All right. Well, I'm not okay.
Boom.
So anyway, the book was like Marco said. It was just as boring, and I didn't even finish it. The only positive thing that I liked about the movie was that it called attention to IVF. And that became a big campaign issue for some odd reason. But I had heard about it, and it costs a lot of money, and it doesn't always work.
Well, people aren't learning about that issue because nobody wanted to watch this shitty season of American Horror Story.
That's the problem. They, but because I watched it, that to me, that was the only positive thing. But I still did not like the series. I didn't like the book, and I ranked that last. Which for me, I saw 8, shows, and it was the last one for me.
I think that's what it means when you put it in last place. But I think no, we're not. I think that it's sad because Emma Roberts, usually she plays like the same old mean girl character, and actually I think that like probably my favorite female or one of my top female characters of American Horror Story would be the character that she played in season 4 when she was like a good character. So I was really like kind of like upset that like, they wasted her, they wasted the potential of the show. And, it's sickening the fact that Ryan Murphy has let American Horror Story turn into what it's turned into. Like, I guarantee that I could probably, like, just, like, in a weekend, come up with a better American Horror Story season than the one that they came up with. I think that this is also the best, not the best. This is the worst overall American Horror Story season. Safi and I ranked all the seasons, and you guys
we watched all of them, so we know.
Yeah, and all the finales too. I can't remember. I think it might have been the worst finale that I ranked. Yeah, Safi, or I think we both have the same next one. Is it Chucky?
Yeah.
My number 8 is Chucky season 3, same as Safi's number 7. Safi, you start with this one.
Well, I don't care about this gay crap. Meaning, I don't care if they show gay characters.
I do.
But the thing is, these are kids, and they, instead of the story, sometimes I felt like they're just focusing on their relationship.
Yeah.
Even if it was a straight relationship, that's not what Chucky is.
Yeah, speak up, Safi.
Chucky's about the horror of Chucky and his impact on people. And they did some things in the show with the plot, and especially with those boys. Now, even too, they were, and the girl, who they're all close because they've all lost their family to Chucky. They've all lost family members to Chucky. And the girl was looking for her little sister, didn't know where she was, and they had a good relationship, but they were almost like left to their own devices. And where was this? Was it in Washington? It was in a huge city. And
Washington, D.C.
Yeah, so Washington, D.C. is expensive. And you can't just go hang out at some hotel.
Yeah.
And the one thing that I thought it was a major fail, and I know it might not seem big to some people, but they were with their teacher. She was kind of like their guardian.
She was introduced like at the very end of season 2, like she was going to be on the show now as like a main character, and she's taking care of them now. She's like the cool mom.
They have to have somebody. They're all minors.
What happens is she gets killed right off the bat.
Very quickly.
And then the main characters, they never wonder where she is, number one. They never acknowledge that she's missing. They never acknowledge that Chucky probably killed her. They never feel sad that Chucky probably killed her. They never have any problems getting around Washington, D.C. all by themselves.
Where did they get the money?
It's just, it's like, what the fuck? Like this, at least
somebody had, it was like, the series was like,
it's lazy.
Piece of paper,
it's lazy.
And somebody stuck their foot through it.
Because
and the foot was hanging out at the bottom.
This is what I discovered about the guy who created the show, and also one of the creators of Chucky. He's a lazy ass loser who just he gets a bunch of ideas and he strings them all together without properly developing them. So like the idea of the kids being in Washington, D.C., it wasn't developed, obviously, because they didn't explain or go into any detail of, like, how they were still, like, being there, like, living there, surviving there. Like, it just didn't make any sense at all. And then, like, the focus on the gay relationship is just fucking abysmal. I'm so sick and tired of that shit being shoved in our faces constantly.
Well,
And I think that the thing that made it worse...
And it didn't help the story.
Yeah, the thing that made it worse was the fact that at the most inappropriate moments, they would focus on the gay relationship. Like, even if it was a straight relationship, like, they go to the White House. What's the first thing they have to do? Have a gay kiss in the White House. And then there's this part in the middle of the season where all of a sudden, when, you know, people are getting killed, the whole world's probably going to get nuked by Chucky, this fucking shitty-ass couple, which, by the way, there's another thing where one of them is driving and he's never driven a car before. And
drives perfectly in the streets of Washington. If you get there, they drive like maniacs.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't even do that. And so he takes his boyfriend to a motel and they have sex for the first time, and that's like a major plot point of the season. And then also there's a part where Chucky is possessing Jake at the end of the season, and then Devin kisses him and therefore kisses Chucky. That was another bizarre gay shit agenda moment. And then also, even taking all the gay shit out of it, which you can't. That's the problem with the show. You know, Chucky used to be about Chucky back in Child's Play 1, 2, 3, and Bride of Chucky. But now it's just all about being gay. But, you know, other than that, they just kept on going bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, going more over the top. Oh, Chucky has to kill this many people, and he's got to do this and that, and he goes to like a demon doctor or some stupid shit, and it's so bad. But I will say, in the second half, there was one good episode, which was the one where the president gets killed, and then for the rest of the episode, it all deals with his double, because the president has a double, and he steps in place for him, and like there's all this stuff with Chucky trying to nuke America or whatever, or Russia, whatever, and I really liked that episode. But other than that, this season was worse than season 2, because at least in season 2 it was good for a while. Season 3 was never really good except for one episode. Safi, what else do you have to say about it?
Nothing.
Fuck Jake, fuck Devin, and fuck Lexi.
It's been canceled, and I'd love to know why they canceled it.
Because nobody wants it. Nobody likes it.
Oh, okay. I never heard why.
Nobody's watching it. The only people who are watching it are like a small, tiny group of fanboys who just say it's the greatest gift that's ever been given. You know?
It's a shame.
It is a shame. It was so exciting back when they announced there's going to be a Chucky TV series. And I was like, wow, that's going to be a lot of fun. Maybe it'll actually be scary again, unlike the horrible seed of Chucky. And then maybe it'll be really good, but it was just complete trash.
Another thing that bothered me,
yeah,
they made it in the White House, and they, even though it was all fake, but they had like it burned, and they destroyed a chandelier, and I really didn't like that. I just wish they would have left it out of there.
What?
I didn't like it that they held it at the White House.
What?
That they pretended like it was at the White House.
Why?
I didn't like that. I just didn't.
Okay, Safi, let's travel back in time. Back to 2010, 2011, 2012 or something. So, guys, just so you guys know, Safi is a complete hypocrite. No, she wanted to go to the movie theater on Mother's Day to see White House Down.
I knew you were
which, they do a lot worse than the White House in that movie. And that movie was, like, so bad, and I can't believe I had to suffer watching that in theaters.
Well, I guess it was because after the Capitol...
Okay, Safi, that doesn't...
That was a real...
That's fucking gay.
Fake.
Safi, that's fucking
so
gay.
Safi,
don't be so gay. You're so gay.
Quiet. When I saw that White House down, that was just play pretend fake. And so after that thing on January 6th,
Oh, Safi, fuck off. Fuck off.
And it just the whole...
Don't be such a bitch. Come on.
The whole story just was not good.
Yeah, the whole story wasn't good, Safi. The fact that it was in the White House made it fun. They talked about ghosts in the White House. They had the thing with the president having a double. In fact, I think that this could have been easily the best season if they had done it properly. Because just imagining Chucky in the White House is like really scary for obvious reasons.
Yeah. Well, but they didn't. They didn't do it right. And that thing with them running around Washington with nobody, and where they had all this money, they could get food, and they're staying in a hotel. And even the people at the White House, the president and his wife, and the kids, they were like, "Where's your guardian? How are you getting by?" They weren't even worried about them. I mean,
they never brought that character up again after she was killed. It was like she disappeared.
She never even was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that at all. To me, it just took away from it. It's just like like I said, it's like somebody stepped through a piece of paper and made a big gaping hole, took their foot out, and there was this big hole, a plot hole.
What do you have next, Safi?
Okay, well, my next one was Grotesquerie.
Oh, okay.
And the thing about Grotesquerie is I appreciate that Travis Kelce was in it. He is very busy, and I thought he did a really good job. And then also Niecy Nash was like the main character. She played a detective who's like an alcoholic.
Safi's gay for Travis
I
Kelce.
thought she did really good too. In fact, she was a comedian, and so she's been doing these dramatic roles, and she's really good. But I watched it, and I think it was episode 6. And they were doing really good. It was a really pretty compelling story. And really some interesting things that they did to make it kind of like there was a killer and making like a supernatural bent to it. In fact, it was more like an American Horror Story series than whatever it was supposed to be.
I was going to catch up and watch the whole season because, I did enjoy reviewing the first 2 episodes because they were so bad and hilarious. But I didn't like that they aired 2 episodes a week. That really pissed me off because it feels like it's hard to keep up with all the other stuff we had to do.
Yeah.
And then also there's a big twist in the season that Safi alluded to. Something where I guess everything's all a dream or something. And it just... That would make me really pissed off, so I'm glad I didn't watch it.
Another thing is, I thought they were copying Hannibal. Because it was about a murderer. They're looking for a murder. There's crimes being committed. And they set up these elaborate people scenes where they're all dead. And they're set up into some kind of, like a painting or a scene of something happening. So many people in this one, so many people are killed. Like one person did all that, and anyway, so I was thinking like Hannibal, American Horror Story. Remind me of everything but what it was supposed to be. But it was pretty good because like I said, Niecy Nash and Travis Kelce both did great, and this nun, the girl who played the nun, I don't know her name, never seen her before. But anyway, so they got, I think it was episode 6, and it was going along at a very specific pace, and then all of a sudden they did this stupid thing, and I watched the end of the episode, and then I got pissed off, and I didn't watch anymore, because I thought, it's asinine. I didn't like what they did, I was really mad, and it was kind of like what Marco said, but it's worse than that. I can't even, I don't want to say it. And, I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
This just makes me want to watch it more.
What they did, I mean, it was bizarre, and I got pissed off. And whenever a show comes on and they do something like that, I just can't bear to watch it anymore. I might now go back and watch those other episodes because I've seen some stuff about it, some people commenting about it, about what happened, and I think I read today that there might be another season.
Oh, God.
Which I don't understand how they could do that. So, and I won't say why, because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, even though it's been on for 1,000,000 years. And I did not watch those episodes anyway, so I wouldn't feel right, really commenting more about it. But what I saw, it followed a route, and then all of a sudden, it was like what I usually call, you get a pizza, or a dish of food, and we saw this Masterchef episode, and there's this chef in Chicago, he charges like $300 plus a dinner, and he throws the food up into the air, and it lands on the table in piles, and then you make a dinner out of it somehow. It's the most bizarre thing, and that's what the episode did, the series, and I didn't care for it. I got mad. So that was my next episode or series.
My number 7. Now, Safi might have this above the other one, so let's just talk about both seasons of MasterChef. My number 7's MasterChef Junior Season 9. My number 6 is MasterChef Season 14. These two are really interchangeable for me because MasterChef Junior, I could hardly remember it because it was such a...
I looked them both up.
Because MasterChef Junior, it didn't even feel like a real season of the show. They brought on Tilly as a new judge, and she wasn't even really allowed to be a judge for the most part. She was basically like just kind of there.
She was held back.
Yeah, she was held back, and then, it just was a really weak season. It didn't really feel very competitive, and it wasn't that interesting. I was glad that Bryson won, but other than that, I thought the season was trash. MasterChef Season 14, it was all about gimmicky, generations, and instead of, thinking of these contestants as people, they treated them like, oh, you're a generation whatever, and they had a bunch of weird, insults throughout the season, talking about, okay, boomer, and all those, cringe words. It was so grating. It was so, dated, too, because, just imagine 100 years if someone went on Hulu and watched that season of the show. They would be like, this is like a time capsule, it's just fucking stupid. So I didn't like either of these seasons. Safi, what did you think?
Okay, well, I put the Generations one lower than the Junior, and I didn't like the fact that they were insulting each other's generation all the time. I thought that was for show, and I don't care about that at all.
Yeah.
And I know that they had a theme and they were following a theme, but I didn't like it. I thought it was stupid. And the person who won, I was supportive of that person. It was Michael.
Yeah.
And Michael is the one who watched MasterChef with his mother. Watched every year, every season, and she passed away. And so he was kind of like, he loved to cook, and he was kind of like thinking of her when he cooked. But I think he made some mistakes. When I looked it up, people pointed it out. I don't think I noticed what he did. They were mad that he got to stay over somebody else because he burned his salmon or something. I don't remember, okay? But that's the one thing I did not like about the season, was the generation thing. I just thought it was crap, because I don't give a crap about it. And I don't like them separating people because of their age. If they're old or they're young. I think it's like discrimination. I don't like it. And then the other one, the kids, it was okay. And like Marco said, Tilly, Gordon Ramsay's daughter, who is kind of well known, she's starting to do different projects, but she was very held back.
Yeah.
And I thought she was whenever she would judge, she was very fair.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that maybe because she was just a kid, recently, I mean, she hasn't been an, quote, adult for very long. And so she could really empathize with them. And I thought, that's why I thought that was good for the show. And good for them to have a judge like that instead of one of these older people, which here I am talking about age. But I mean, she was very empathetic. She showed an empathy that the others, I don't think, had. So, anyway, the guy who won was Bryson, and he was funny because he would get really nervous, and he practically pass out because he gets so nervous. But anyway, I put that one ahead. So
my number 5 is If You're Done, Safi.
I'm done. So that's what I thought about the two shows.
Both of them were really kind of
They were fair.
mediocre.
Fair. Yeah.
My number 5, this is one Safi didn't watch. It was The Old Man Season 2. I have a lot of fun watching The Old Man, or I had a lot of fun because they canceled it. Those fuckers. I had a lot of fun watching the show because even if the show was bad, it gave me for some very good reviews. And Safi got a little taste of that when she had to read my review of the finale, because it was like Safi was live reacting to everything that happened, like finding out that, like, is this all a dream? Because, let's just start off with the fact that this whole season was doomed for failure when they set it in the Middle East. Because I just couldn't imagine them spending the entire season in the Middle East dealing with getting back Spider Freckle from her real father, the Old Man. I just couldn't imagine. And guess what? It didn't. They spent 3 episodes on it. The 3rd episode was really, really good, to be fair, and it had a lot of good action, too. And I also like seeing Jeff Bridges and... what's the other guy? John Lithgow.
Yeah.
I love both of those actors.
They're very good.
And seeing them together was really, really nice. But then they just kind of forget about that, and they come back to America or whatever. They leave the Middle East, and the rest of the season they just continue doing plot twist after plot twist to where you really can't get settled into the story. They just keep on pulling the rug out from under you. And in the final episode, I thought that the whole episode was a dream, but then there was this really tough realization at the end that, it wasn't a dream, it was all real. And I was like, oh. And it was just like really disappointing. And there were all these plots that didn't go anywhere. Like they had the Zoe, the NPC, and she had this like flashback to when she was getting married to the first husband, and he taught her how to shoot or something, and so then she shot a guy, and it didn't make any sense at all. But it was so entertaining, and I would even be willing to put it higher, but that twist at the end and the whole finale I just thought was such an FU. It was so anticlimactic. The whole finale pretty much revolved around this guy who we had never seen before the whole series, and he comes in and he's all of a sudden the main villain for Jeff Bridges, and he says, "You killed my father, prepare to die," like in The Princess Bride. And then immediately after that, Jeff Bridges kills him easily, and then he gets saved, and it's complete trash. But there were some good moments. They also had, in my opinion, what was the best TV show, or what was the best TV episode of the year. They had this episode that was very dark, and it was all set in one location, and at John Lithgow's house, and it was an incredible episode because it was so dramatic, and it was so character-focused. And if the whole season had been like that, it would have been really good, because that episode really had balls, and it was really, like, just well done in terms of, like, you don't really see TV episodes like that now anymore. Like, you don't see TV episodes that have the impact and the drama that episode had. But other than that, it was a disappointing season. Safi, what's next for you?
Okay.
Is it Fargo?
No, since I have one less than Marco, I'm on number 3. So my number 3 is Fallout.
Oh.
And I liked Fallout a lot. And it was so much better than what I thought it would be. And we actually binge watched Fallout, which was probably a mistake because it's very detailed and in depth. And Marco kind of had a heads up because he played the game, and it did give him kind of an insight into what was going on or where everything was, how it was placed, etc. that I didn't have. But despite that, I still enjoyed it a lot. I thought the characters were really very full, and it was a very good story, and it's interesting and to think about that could happen, heaven forbid, but still, I thought it was better than what I ever thought it would be. And it's based on a video game. And usually, I don't think these shows that are based on a game have worked out very well. I know this is a TV series, maybe that was the difference, that like Tomb Raider and that one that we saw, Marco, was a movie based on another game that you played. I can't remember what it was called, that we saw, and it didn't work out either. And I don't know, I just think that this was a series, so maybe that's what helped, because they could kind of get into more detail and make it more full and have more substance. So anyway, I put it at number 3. So go ahead.
Wow. Well, okay, my number 4 is Fargo Season 5. I felt like this season had, once again, a lot of potential, but it was a huge mixed bag. There were a lot of stupid political agendas, like to do with Trump and to do with just feminism. Like, they had this whole subplot where one of the female characters, she had this husband who just didn't do anything. Like, he was like a lazy ass, and like, that was like one of the main plots of the show, and it really had no impact on the show. You could have completely cut it out, and it wouldn't have done anything to the plot. And they had a lot of great characters, though. I really liked John Hamm as the villain. He did a really good job.
He did an excellent job.
I love the main character. She was really likable. Dot.
She was great.
She was great, and
she didn't win. Neither one won anything.
I loved the silent hitman guy, who was kind of like another Coen Brothers movie character. And, you know, I loved some episodes of the season. I loved the first episode. But what they did throughout the season was they spent too many times throughout the season building up to something and then not having anything happen, or having it be really anticlimactic. They first did that where, and there were a lot of filler episodes too that really felt like nothing happened in them. But like, for instance, they had this whole home invasion plot where it was built up as like, oh shit, like they're gonna come to her house and get her, and it's gonna be like Home Alone, and then it's just kind of weak and pathetic, and it's just like wah wah wah. And then at the very end, they have this incredible build-up. Oh yeah, before the incredible build-up, they had this terrible episode, which was like an art house episode where the whole thing was a dream, and it involved who I think was like the worst actress of 2024, who was supposed to be like this sympathetic character. And she was so unlikable that you actually rooted for her to die by the end of the episode, because
saw her,
yeah.
Everything I know he's talking about. He's talking about the first wife.
Because he killed her.
Yeah, that's right. And so everything that we saw her in, it was a dream.
And I thought that was weak because
I've never seen that before. I don't think.
At least what they could have done was they could have had it to where you see flashbacks of her for real. Oh yeah, that was another thing with that was, you know, they're such pussies that like they couldn't show this and couldn't show that. So they showed this whole story with puppets, which I felt like that really took away from the episode, because if they had shown the whole origin story with people, it would have been so much more impactful. You would have had great acting, but instead you just see these stupid puppets. I thought it was really gay.
And the way they did it with the puppets too, they made it to where everybody had to make the puppets.
Yeah.
So you're talking about carving and gluing and sewing clothes, and not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that to me that kind of took away too, because that's not realistic at all.
There was also an instance on the show, and Safi, by the way, she's revealing how bad it is by all that she's talking. But there was another instance where John Hamm is like really angry, and he marches to the shed where while this shitty ass Taylor Swift song is playing or something, and
I have no idea.
He goes into the shed, and it's really unclear as if whether or not he beats her or rapes her or both.
Both, yeah.
Or I don't know. I can't tell. We can't tell because this is like a modern thing now of where it's a part of like the feminist agenda where you're not allowed to show certain things because it's wrong. But then when it comes to violence against men, they don't really care. You know, they don't really have the same kind of... You know, because, I mean, I think I heard last year they had this TV show where, like, a male character got raped and then he had to say sorry for getting raped to his girlfriend or something. That was, like, a superhero show. It was called The Boys, and they did that in that show, and it's like, you know, it really shows something that, like, they can do that, but then when it comes to female characters, they don't have to show anything, and it's just, like, it's complete trash. And I'm sick and tired of it. And they had this really good build-up to a finale that I felt like, okay, if this finale's good, it's going to be one of the best finales ever. But they did the thing that they did in Season 2 at the motel, where, you know, that was supposed to be like a really climactic battle, and it ended up being like a skirmish. But this finale wasn't even a skirmish. It was just like a... What?
Skirmish.
It was skirmish. This finale wasn't even a skirmish, though. It was just a complete. And then I will say though, after that horrible disappointment that I'll never forgive them for, they had this really good ending, where they had this whole sequence where after everything that's happened, the hitman still wants to kill the main character.
Because he feels like he was supposed to, and it was like a deed.
Yeah.
He has to fulfill the deed.
And he comes over to her house, and it's so confusing to me because, like, the other part of the finale is so terrible, but this part of the finale was so good, and it's like this whole, like, suspenseful sequence where, you know, she's, like, trying to distract him and calm him down, and then finally he decides not to kill her, and I just thought that was so good. And it's so unfortunate that the rest of the finale was complete trash. It's also unfortunate that Safi is glazing it as much as she is. Because I know she's going to put it at number 1, I bet. Yeah. That's probably it. Safi, what's your next one?
Okay, well, my number 2 is The Penguin.
Oh!
I debated about that being number 1 and Fargo being number 2. But I don't want to watch The Penguin over again.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've watched Fargo.
That's true.
Over again like 2 or 3 times. It's rewatchable to me. And some of the scenes that Marco just talked about, they were so good. And even the ones that were bad, we just kind of rolled through them. Like the puppet thing. I thought that was very creative. Very unrealistic. Very unrealistic. But it was a dream. So maybe you can't have you don't have to have.
No, Safi, it was an excuse so that they didn't have to show the domestic violence and the rape.
I know.
That's the only reason why they did that. It had nothing to do with artistic intent. It had to do with agendas. It had to do with this typical modern feminist agenda shit that you see everywhere.
Okay, well, I'm supposed to be talking about the Penguin, but
I know you are.
Colin Farrell played the Penguin, and I can't get over how amazing his performance was. I mean, with the whole thing as it was, he was just like, if he doesn't get acting awards for that performance, I mean, it wasn't just about the performance, it was the makeup, the way, I mean, he's Irish, and he did like a a mafia voice, and then he had to, Penguin had clubbed feet or something, so they had to do something to his feet so he would walk with a limp. He wore a bodysuit. He changed his face. And you would never know that was Colin Farrell. I mean, I'm just thinking about him now. You'd never know that was him. And he did an amazing job. The thing that I got pissed off about, this is what happens that takes things away from me that
Spoilers.
makes me not like it.
Spoilers.
Was that the kid who helps him, now he's not a young kid, he's like a late teenager or something. He gets killed. But he kills him. And I didn't like that at all. And they talked about this on making the show. And all of the cast really liked him. And they were dreading this particular episode where the penguin kills him. And they explain why they did it, because it just shows he's lost all his humanity. And he said something, the kid says something, you're like my family. We're kind of like family. And they said that's what sets him off, that he can't keep him around because he's gotten rid of all his, quote, family. He killed his brothers, and we thought it was, I didn't know. We debated about whether that was deliberate, but it was. He went. I mean, this is when he's a child, and his brothers are children, and he left them in this place, and he got it to where they couldn't escape, and it rained and rained and rained and poured, and they drowned, and it was just. So anyway, they had to get rid of the kid at the end because it showed that all his humanity was gone, but I didn't like it. And I really wish they hadn't done it. Because I feel like you could be the worst person in the world, which we've seen one right now, but it should be one person who's in your corner. And and I don't know if you're a bad person, how can you survive on your own with no help from anybody? Nothing. And this kid helped him in so many ways. And because he had the audacity to talk about him being like his family, he got rid of him. So I didn't like that, but Colin Farrell is amazing. If you don't, you've got to watch it just to look at what he did with this part. It's unbelievable. So that's my number 2. Go ahead.
My number 3 is Feud, Capote versus the Swans.
Oh.
This was a show that Safi was supposed to watch, but she doesn't really like to do anything anymore.
Oh, Marco.
And I would say it's sad because I would have easily put this as the best TV show of 2024 if not for the last episode. This was a really interesting story that I had never heard about before, about Capote having this feud with these high-class women who, basically just treated him like a jester, where he would come over and throw parties with them and, gossip with them, and he would learn all their secrets, and he would find out, about all these terrible things that they had done. And then he was starting to write this book all about them, all about that, and all about them, and that was going to be his final book, or it was his final book because he died.
Was it The Swan then? Was the book called The Swan?
No, but he never finished it. But he did publish an article in a magazine, which was the opening chapters, and it basically set off this feud. And it was such a great story about alcohol addiction, because, of course, he was an addict. And the guy who played Truman Capote, he gave an award-winning performance. And then the Swans were fantastic. All of them. You had Diane Lane. You had the woman from American Psycho. You had Naomi Watts. And you had all these great actresses. And it was such a great show. Like, I really loved almost every episode, and I thought that the show was highly underrated, especially because Safi said, fuck you. But the biggest issue I had with the show was the finale, because the finale was basically like fan fiction. It was kind of like, what if Truman Capote finished his book? Because it basically was like the whole episode was like whatever book that he would have written. Like, it was a theory on, like, this is what the book would have been about. And it was like these fantasy sequences, and then it ended, of course, with him dying, and he never finished the book. And then they also stated that maybe he did finish it and maybe he destroyed it. And so that was like their big, like, fan theory that the show came up with, was like, what if he did finish it and then he destroyed it and then he died? And so it's like a tragedy. And then the weirdest part is, after that, they jump to the modern day, and they show this like celebrity auction where, now that Truman Capote is dead, they're auctioning off all of his stuff. Like, they're auctioning off his ashes, and they're auctioning off all these things.
Where's the money go?
I guess to his estate or something, but it's like very, very creepy and weird. But it's like it's just a weird episode, that finale. And then you see the ghosts of the swans, and they're there like watching that take place or something, and it was just really weirdly executed. But it's too bad that Safi, did what she did and she wouldn't watch the show, because it really deserved better than people like Safi. I mean, I guess she doesn't like it because he's gay or something, but
No, that's not true. I like Truman Capote.
Well, why don't you watch the show?
Well, maybe I will. Just, God bless it, Marco.
I would watch it again.
Well, see, it's rewatchable then, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, my number one is Fargo. And the reason why is because it's rewatchable.
Oh,
I watched
shit.
it twice since it was aired. So I've seen it 3 times. And the reason why it was fun for me, I really loved it, is they made the main character, she's British. And they worked on this Minnesota accent with all the characters. They talked about it. And the guy who plays her husband, he's actually from Minnesota, so he didn't have any trouble. He has the accent. And the girl who plays he talked about it, she's the police officer. Her husband is a doofless who doesn't do anything. He thinks he's going to be a famous golfer. And all he does is spend money, and they have bills, and he's just a big loser. He's having an affair, too, she finds out. But anyway, I like the fact that they turned this girl, the main character, and she didn't get any award, and neither did Ham.
Maybe they would have gotten awards if they didn't turn them into puppets, where they had their most emotional, vulnerable moments in their stories.
But anybody who's familiar with the show MacGyver, and they even bring it up in the show, because she helped this, what was it, a highway patrolman survive. He was bleeding to death, and she was able to help him. And he says, it seems like you've been here before. You're like some kind of MacGyver. Or he said it then or sometime during the episode. And that's what they did. She was trying to proof her house all up, where they put all kinds of traps and everything in case, like Home Alone, in case these people, she expected them to come to get her because her ex-husband wants to kill her. And he's not really an ex-husband. She ran away from him because he was abusing her. Totally. I mean, almost killing her. She was in the hospital. And I liked her husband and her daughter. And then the woman who played her mother-in-law, she was really good. And then the guy who played the highway patrolman, he actually did win an award. He was the only one of the group to win an award. I was happy for him because I thought it was a really good show. I mean, I've seen it just because I love watching her do all these traps.
So you like Dorothy?
But it's just funny because you know,
how would you rate her on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, Marco, fuck off!
Is she a 10?
Would you stop it?
Is she a Minnesota 10?
They talked about this Minnesota Nice.
Is she a Minnesota 10?
We just had that Tim Waltz, who's the governor, and he talked about
He was Minnesota weird.
One of the best states in the country for helping their people in the state. The people who live there actually give them an opportunity to grow.
He was Minnesota weird.
And to have health care and everything, free lunches and things like that.
He was Minnesota weird.
Well, I don't agree. But anyway, but it was, I liked it. And basically Fargo, with the exception of, was it season 4? I think we've watched all of them.
Yeah.
Because they're very rewatchable.
No, I have not rewatched any of the seasons except for season 3.
Okay, well, I have, but this is my favorite. And I feel bad that those people didn't get any awards, but I'm glad somebody did. So that's it. So you have to do 2 more, Marco, so go ahead.
Is she a 10, Safi?
Marco, I'm gonna leave the room.
Is she a Minnesota 10? Or is she an Ohio 10?
Come on, let's move it.
What is she, Safi? Is she your favorite character? Would you like to have a tea party with her? Guys, Safi's leaving me. Safi, my number 2 is Fallout Season 1.
Oh, really? It's not your number 1, huh?
Well, I was surprised because I thought the series was going to be garbage because Fallout 4 is garbage because it's not a Fallout game.
You said that.
It doesn't feel like a Fallout game at all. It just feels like a generic game. But it's a really fun game. It's a really good game. It's just not a good Fallout game. And so I thought that because of the influence that the Bethesda that it had over the season, I thought it was going to be bad. But surprisingly, it was a very good season of television. It was a lot of fun. It was funny. I loved it. It had so much violence in it, too. It had a lot of violence. I love the main character, even though I didn't like how she got into a relationship with another character by the end. I felt like that was kind of forced. And then my big issue with the season was the finale. This is actually why the top 3 for me are really hard, because none of them had great finales.
No, it didn't have a very good finale.
All of them had problematic finales. Fallout's finale was the worst.
Yeah.
Because it was so contrived and it was so predictable that, like, oh, of course, the white male character, her father, is the villain of the season.
That was a surprise.
It was such a lame twist. It was so expected, and it was such a big FU. But I just loved everything else about the show. It was such a great gift to the Fallout fans. And I feel like I'm really excited for Season 2. And I will also say, unfortunately, the actress who plays the main character she is kind of cringeworthy in real life, because she has said a couple of things that are really not very good. She has said that she doesn't want to do any more video game things because she doesn't want to be known as the video game girl.
Well, I think that's dumb.
I just think I think that that's really shitty, because I think that it's like she is the video game girl now, automatically because of that Fallout show. And I think that I hate it when celebrities get popular for something and then they like try to disown what they're popular for. Like Christopher Lee, where he was like, he would apparently refuse to sign autographs for Dracula sometimes. And like, I just hate it when celebrities do that, because I feel like it's such an FU to the fans, and it's such a disrespectful thing to do, and it really just makes me not want to watch the show. However, I am still really excited for season 2.
Me too.
I thought that it was pretty good. It wasn't the best, though. It wasn't the best, Safi. The best
finale or the show?
The show.
Oh.
The best show, easily, was The Penguin Season 1. Right off the bat, you have Colin Farrell's performance as the Penguin, which was so perfect. It was like a masterclass in acting.
It really was.
The
way.
The opening episode is like one of the best TV premieres I've ever seen. It was so good. It made me happy that they made that shitty Twilight Boy Batman, because at least it led to this show getting made. And I loved Victor, who was like the co-star, the co-lead of the show.
Yeah, Victor.
I thought him and Penguin worked so well together.
Yeah.
Because, you have Victor, who is like really normal and innocent and nice, and you had the Penguin, who is really evil and corrupt and just the opposite. And it was such a shame that he killed him off, because I felt like this is why TV shows are bad nowadays, because they have no long-term ambition. They have no, they have no, ability to see, oh, wouldn't this be great if this could go on for, 10 seasons, and we could see these characters grow over the course of the series, and we could see Victor and the Penguin, and then maybe at the end of the series he could kill him off, or maybe at the end of season 3 or something. But I felt like it was the equivalent, and I know that people have made fun of this, but I feel like it was the equivalent of, in Breaking Bad Season 1, I'm not saying that the characters are like Walter and Jesse. I'm saying that the creative choice is similar to AMC wanted Vince Gilligan to kill off Jesse in Breaking Bad Season 1. And he said, no, I'm not going to do that, because I want the show to be a show, and, I'm not going to kill off the co-leading character. And because now, why would you want to rewatch Season 1, and why would you want to watch Season 2? Because Victor's not going to be there either way. Another problem that I have with the season, even though I love the series for the most part, or the season, Sophia Falcone, she was a great character at first, but then she quickly became like a typical modern female character. She had a really weird story that just was all over the place, and I was honestly rooting for Penguin to get her. I was not rooting for her at all, and I felt like that was a big fail of the show. But I would still say, this show was, incredible. I loved almost every episode, and I thought that the finale could have been a great finale if he just hadn't killed off Victor. Because a big plot hole is the fact that Penguin never even questioned who gave Sophia the location of where to kidnap his mother. He never stopped to think, oh, what if my girlfriend did that, the prostitute? And so at the end of the season, he's still schmoozing it up with her in his new apartment. And I felt like that was such a big plot hole, because, why wouldn't he think about that? He thought about everything else. Why wouldn't he think about, oh, wait, how did Sophia get my location in the first place, so that she could come over here and get my mom and kidnap her and everything? So I thought that was an epic fail. Right, Safi?
Yeah, well, the other fail, and I didn't mention, was
Oh.
It was a little girl.
Oh.
And, we never.
Yeah.
I don't like what they did with the little girl. She kills all her family.
Yeah.
Except the little girl. And then the little girl gets locked up in Arkham Asylum. Why?
Yeah.
And then after she gets locked up, what happens to the little girl? Is she still there? And if she isn't, where is she? They don't even settle it. I don't like that at all.
And I think it's this show had potential to be a great series. And I think if they made a season 2, I don't know how it would be any good because Victor's not going to be there.
Yeah, and it's so funny. The actor who plays him, he accepted. He didn't argue with them. He was very amenable. You know, they have some of these actors and they have little tantrums and things. You hear about it. And they make a big stink about things. He didn't. He was very nice about it.
Well,
he accepted it.
A big thing is like you have a problematic actor on set, and so what do the writers do? They kill him off. They kill him off so they can get rid of him.
But they knew this a long time before the end, that they were going to kill him off. The cast and the crew, everybody, they were all prepared for it, even though they didn't want it either. And I'm like, if so many people were against it, why couldn't they have not done it? So, anyway, they did it, and it's a done deal. Unless they think it's a dream sequence.
That's it.
So that's it, everybody. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and become one of our subscribers. So goodbye, everybody.
Bye.